What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Try Time podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Callum.
And you join us today for the first of a new style of video, which at the point of recording hasn't even got a title. That's how new it is. So, welcome to the world exclusive. This is the bit from the old podcast that probably would have been sandwiched in the middle, basically the interesting bit, that we've chopped down, cut the crap, and we're hopefully bringing you more enjoyable content. And today we're going to be diving into the big announcement that Australia and New Zealand have pulled out of the Rugby League World Cup on COVID grounds.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of shocked everyone, came a bit out of nowhere, but the whole Australia-New Zealand COVID situation at the minute is a bit, even Australians will tell you, it is a bit of a mess, a bit all over the place, but still not expected when they're sending people to the Olympics. They're sending people all over the place for other sports and everything like that. It just doesn't seem right. It does seem a bit bitter. It doesn't come. But I mean,
let's start with the basics. So this is the reason that Australia have given for pulling out of the competition, which is broadly the same as New Zealand. I think it might have been a joint statement, but the gist of it is that because the tournament would be part of the off-season, and in the subsequent 2-week quarantine on return to Australia, as the government were not willing to make an exemption for players returning from the Rugby League World Cup, it would eat into the off-season schedule for the NRL, meaning a reduced pre-season, and as such would cause problems with the start of the 2022 NRL season. That's the reason they've given. It is worth noting that all the athletes returning from the Olympics in Tokyo are expected to quarantine on arrival, so this is not a situation where Rugby League is being treated differently to other Australian internationals going overseas.
Yeah, I feel like they've seen how, let's say, football, which is arguably the biggest sport in the world, has dealt with it as well. I feel like the fact they did the Euros didn't seem to have many problems with it. They've got, again, players at the Olympics, and it doesn't feel like it's going to affect the start of, say, the Premier League season. And I know Super League especially has been hit with COVID hard, and maybe that's what's scaring the
I'm going to give a
bit,
different example to what you've given, because let's face it, the Rugby League World Cup, domestic based, players from all over the world. I think the biggest one that's got off without a single problem in terms of the competitors is the Tour de France that has just happened, finished this month. You know, nearly 200 cyclists, all their mechanics, the rest of their teams, all in the one country, and they've bubbled them well, they've not had problems. They've had allegations of drug abuse, but that's a bit different altogether. There was a raid on the team's motorhome, it was quite interesting. Anyway, we won't delve into that today. But I know what you mean. Australia seems to be taking quite an extreme stance on this, and it is something that, in some ways, if we look at actually their COVID record, it has dealt them quite well, but also it's not without its problems. And this is a key one. Arrivals is a big area of contention. Now, again, we're not here to discuss Australian border policy, because that's an entirely different channel and one that we are not going to start by launching. So let's move on to the implications for the tournament. And I think I'm going to start this one for some of the emerging nations that we would talk about previously, because there's an argument over who replaces Australia and New Zealand, because you need the extra teams. And the emerging nations qualifiers, the likes of Italy, Germany, Malta, Greece, etc., there's a lot of them competing for spots at the World Cup. And for two of those teams, this is a massive opportunity that if they were given, I'm pretty sure they would bite the hand off the RFL to take.
Oh, 100%, yeah. I think it's a case of, like, if they want to, I guess people are saying it's selfish, it's throwing the teddies out of the pram and all this, then you've got to let some of the other teams come in who are actually teams who are like trying to grow the international game as well, which is what the World Cup's all about. And I think that's why a lot of people are looking forward to it. I know it's been a bit of a farce. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen with COVID? But I think it's like, for example, if it was over in Australia, this wouldn't be happening, and that's. But it's as if they're just not. It just comes across as really bitter to me. Like, that's just the way I see it. Like, they don't want to travel over here. It's our kind of celebration of rugby league over here. They could be a part of it. They don't want to because they think that they're bigger than international rugby league.
I think what really drives this feeling is the fact that the clubs have said, you know, the clubs whose players' pre-seasons will be affected, they're the ones that are going to have to deal with unfit players come round one. They've said they're happy for them to go. So all the English representatives in the NRL, the Tongans, the Samoans, etc., are able to travel, which is going to bring on to the next point, particularly for these South Sea Island nations. We're going to see a lot of Aussies suddenly digging up long-lost grandfathers for the second nationalities. You know, Lachlan Coote in Scotland is one that we've seen for a long time now. He's going to be one of many if this tournament goes ahead.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot in there. I mean, I know we've seen, you know, someone like, for example, like got Tyson Frizzell. He's played for Wales before and he went to Australia and he would be in the Australia squad. Is he going to now is John Keir now going to be getting calls from Tyson Frizzell saying, "Come on, Johnny boy, I'm ready to play"? Like, do you know what I mean? Is that going to be?
If that's how he speaks to John Keir, I don't think he's going to understand a word he's saying. John Keir's not that hip, but
you know what I mean, though, don't
definitely.
you?
Definitely, I think there's going to be a lot more competition for places in some of these squads as more and more declare themselves available. Was it Jason Taumalolo last World Cup who defected from New Zealand to Tonga that caused such a big...
Yeah, he was like the kind
big
of
the instigator.
Yeah, him and like Andrew Fafita went to Tonga. And I think it's unfair on maybe some of the Samoans and Tongans and them sort of players who now might not get a look in the World Cup. Maybe team selectors might take this into account and think, you know what, no, you're not defecting over it. Obviously, it's not your fault, but that's not how we're going to run it. But then again, if you've got someone like, I mean, like I know probably Wales would bite their hand off for Tyson Frizzell, but if you've got Tyson Frizzell banging on your door, you kind of can't turn down that opportunity.
No, you have to be a very good nation to be able to afford to let that happen, and no disrespect to Wales, they're not at that level.
They probably could do with a decent back row.
They like definitely could. I mean, you know, Elliot Keir is not going to cut apart the Tongan line on his own.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Wales have got a good little team, but that's into an all different video. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
But the point still stands that this massively affects the other nations. For example, like Italy are going to have, you know, they're going to have Tedesco.
Yeah.
There's a few others who play for Italy.
Massive pull for Italy.
There'll be a few who'll go France, who've got like sort of France ancestors.
And of course, the one team that's almost more than any is going to get left out of this is England, who you would have said, under normal circumstances, the World Cup, Australia out, New Zealand out, you'd put England as the favourites. But this changes the whole dynamic. Is this actually going to be one of the most competitive World Cups we've seen for a long time? Or is it still going to be the England walkover because the squad knows each other better? Who's actually going to hold that torch to challenge them? Because you would have said Tonga are probably... If we say Australia and New Zealand are the elite teams of rugby, it's probably England and Tonga on that second tier. There you go, Rugby League Nations tier list.
And then you've probably got your Fijis, your Samoas.
Yeah.
Maybe even like a
Wales or Scotland or somebody.
Or like France probably in there. Lebanon maybe if they're on the game, but yeah, like that. Yeah, I see what you mean in how now it's going to be more of like a level playing field because it's not like because there's going to be the big teams out, then you've still got the good teams in like England, the Tongas, and some of the lower teams are going to come up. Yeah, and it's going to be good.
Synchronised dancing here, there we are.
But yeah, I still would back England at home. I'd hope so anyway.
If we can't win that, we're never going to win a World Cup with this generation. But I don't think we're going to get a better opportunity than this.
Yeah. I think there'll be a big asterisk next to us, sort of the win anyway, whoever wins it, if Australia and New Zealand aren't there. But I think the fallout of this could be huge. I mean, personally, I can see...
what would you do if you were the head honcho that's got this decision?
What I'd do is I'd say, that's fine, and I'd ban him for the next like 2 World Cups. I'd literally say, you either play in this World Cup and you deal with it, right, or you're getting a ban because we're not going to let you play in our tournament anymore because, especially not, I know necessarily they're not hosting, they are integral, they hosted the last World Cup, they've hosted many, they are, and they'll say themselves that NRL is the most elite competition, but they're at, like, it's so stupid to me. It's like if the Premier League turned around, like the sort of FA turned around, like no, we don't want England to go to a World Cup.
Do you know what this
in
attitude
Qatar.
reminds me of? It's the voices, mostly fan voice, I think, more than anything, from bitter teams in the mid-table that were calling for the Big Six to be banned from the Premier League and relegated to the conferences for the Super League plans.
Yeah, it's
As
comparable.
much as, because again, we had greedy owners in the Premier League who were wanting to take the Super League, greedy people at the top of the Australian and New Zealand rugby league systems. The clubs are happy to let them go. The fans of the Premier League teams didn't want them to go Super League.
Yeah.
This is the perfect comparison. And what is ridiculous is that fact. The clubs are happy to let their players go, but Australia will not select a squad that contains them. I mean, one thing I have seen about is they should enter a squad full of players already based in the English leagues. We have actually got a video coming out later on this week, I believe.
Yep.
We have pre-recorded it, so it is done, on what a Super League Australia squad would look like, and we are hoping to get one of those done for New Zealand as well. So feel free to leave some comments on that video. We may record the New Zealand one after that's gone live for you to watch.
Yeah, just so we can get any feedback on it in different sort of ways.
If not, sorry, we're not ignoring you. It's not done on purpose.
Yeah, and I think make sure you're subscribing as well to stick around for that. And I guess the general consensus of this decision is it's just.
So you're thinking the same as me? World Cup goes ahead. Emerging nations take their place. They'd be grateful for the opportunity, and potentially some further ramifications for Australia and New Zealand for the way that they've acted. Because by all intents and purposes, they've not actually consulted anyone before doing this. I know they didn't sign the initial documentation about the game still going ahead, but they've also not voiced any concerns or said that if it does, they will not be partaking. This all seems a very last-minute
rash
impulse.
decision.
We're not doing it, sort of, like you say, tantrum.
Yeah, that's why it does come across like that. And I mean, do that. If they want to host a Four Nations, they want to host a tournament. No, we're not going over there. You want to come, you've got to come. You didn't want to come over for a World Cup, which you don't understand how big a World Cup is for English Rugby League at home as well. I know it has obviously happened a few times before, but
2013, the last one,
yeah.
And it was huge. I was at the final for that, and it was just like going to a grand final. It meant so much. With Australia playing New Zealand,
yeah,
just because we're in England, that does not reduce the importance of these teams. Us fans in England, quite often, it's dreams come true to see the likes of Darren Lockyer, Jonathan Thurston, Sonny Bill Williams, that calibre of player on the pitch, and to see what is effectively an NRL All-Stars game played in England when those two teams meet is a fantastic spectacle, and it's not lost on the English fans just because, like I say, it's Thurston and Lockyer, not Gale and Widdop.
Yeah, I think what it actually is comparable to, and we'll just end on this, we'll wrap it up, we don't want to go on for too long, but let's say America are hosting a World Cup in football.
It's like having the Super Bowl in England.
Maybe, but like for example, MLS, right? So over in America, they're hosting a World Cup.
Yeah.
But England and all the other a couple of other big European nations with all the best players say, no, we don't want to travel over to America. So the Americans are up for it. It's so big for their nation, which is a nation trying to grow football or soccer over there, right? And their fans are there. They're wanting to see all the best players in the world who play for England, they play for France, they play for Germany, and they're saying they're not coming over. It just wouldn't. I just don't think it'd be allowed to happen.
Just because you're not in Portugal, the appeal of watching Ronaldo play does not change no matter where you are in the world.
Yeah.
Unless maybe Argentina.
Yeah,
but that's a bit of a different question. That's a different reason entirely.
Yeah, but I think overall it's just a farce. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they just go back on the decision and they end up coming just because of the backlash.
Would you have them back?
I think they will. I personally wouldn't, but
neither would I. I think if they showed remorse and wanted to come back, I wouldn't ban them from further competition. But I'd say you've made your bed and spat your dummy out. Go lay in it.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I think financially and
I think
just
they would have
tactically,
them
they
back.
would have them back.
Australia and New Zealand is a bigger draw than Poland and Serbia.
Yeah, potentially. But
I'm
yeah,
not going to deny that, but I don't know. Keep them out. This is a chance for a Reggae Warriors semi-final. We all want Jamaica to excel.
let us know anyway.
Jamaica
guys.
has a bobsled and a rugby league team. How well are they going to do? Let's hope we find out.
Yeah, I'm going to say it'd be decent if they did well. But yeah, let us know what would you do with them and what do you think is going to happen as well. Do you think it'll go ahead? Do you think they'll just cancel it altogether, which we hope not? Just because I know obviously a lot of people, including us, are looking forward to it.
Yeah, a lot of people have bought tickets, not including us.
Yeah. But
if it does go ahead and you want us to go to matches that aren't sold out, let us know. We will try and fit those in. I'm not travelling down to London for like some two poxy teams playing each other, but other than that, it's fair game.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's everything, guys, isn't it?
Yeah, that's all from me. So, hope you enjoyed this new short style video. Subscribe, stick around, there'll be more of these coming. Follow us on the usual socials. And yeah, that's all from me. So, goodbye.
Yeah, see you later, guys.